going on, Dolphin fans? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here to do a video that there's a couple different articles I want to go through. One having to do with roster moves, and one, that discusses Charlie Fry's comments about Tua and how he's looked in practice and so on and so forth. And it goes to the whole, quarterback handling situation. We'll talk about both of those things. But just so you know, tomorrow I'll be doing one of my scouting report videos. Friday will be my preview video for the Jets. And then Saturday I'll have another scouting report video. So, now that I'm getting to the point of the season where the scouting report videos are starting to get a little bit more limited, I don't have as many each week. I'm going to try and make sure to space them out well throughout the week and try and do some extra content in some other ways. So that is what this is going to be about. Let's go ahead and jump into it. There were some roster moves. There was some news to talk about. So first off, Dolphins signed Jamal Perry to active roster, signing 2 to the practice squad. The Miami Dolphins made 3 moves on Wednesday to improve their roster ahead of their Week 11 battle with the New York Jets. Miami announced they signed defensive back Jamal Perry to their active roster from their practice squad and signed linebacker Kobe Jones and quarterback Jake Luton to fill in open spots left on the practice squad. Let's see. Perry has been in the league since 2017 when he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Eagles. Spent 17 and 18 on and off the New England practice squad before signing with Miami in 19. Over the last 3 years, he's played in 30 games, starting in 7. This could be due to Flores announcing that Jason McCourty is done for the season. I don't think I had mentioned that in a video, so I'm glad this was in here. Obviously, I did mention, I do know that I talked about him going on to IR, but as it turns out, it is season ending, so he is not expected to come back. If not, it's just more depth at the position that every team needs, and he's familiar with the system. Jones is an edge rusher from Mississippi State that signed with the Falcons as an undrafted free agent this summer, but didn't make it to the regular season. During his 4 years as a Bulldog, Jones totaled just 7 sacks. So, nothing that's going to move the needle there. Let's see. Luton was a 6th-round pick out of Oregon State by the Jags in 2020. Started 3 games for Jacksonville last season due to Minshew's injury and threw for 624 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 54.5 passer rating. 25-year-old signed with the Seahawks in September of 2021. Bounced to and from the practice squad with injuries to both quarterbacks. It's probably good to have an extra arm at practice. He joins Jake Dolegala as the practice squad for the Miami practice squad quarterbacks. I thought I saw somewhere that they actually waived Dolegala, but maybe not. I guess maybe they have both. I don't know. At most places I saw from a couple different places. I think they probably have both of on the roster. But if there's any more news on that, I'll throw it into a video somewhere. All right, the other thing I do want to talk about, like I said, is Frey's comments. And there's this article on Dolphins Talk. Frey's comments said Tua's fingers contradict Flores' early statements. So let's get through it. It seems that Brian Flores is caught once again being inconsistent with what he tells the media and what's really going on in regards to Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Now they're kind of being nice about it, but he's being caught in a lie yet again. And because, as you guys know, when it comes to this whole situation with Tua, there was reports, Nick Hicks had said that, Tua was good to go. With the rib, he could have been better. He could have come back earlier from the rib injury. I'm personally convinced that he could have played against the Texans, should have started against the Ravens and not been in backup mode. And I think the only reason why it happened, I think the reality of the situation, I don't think it's a conspiracy at all, that Brian Flores in particular is jerking the kid around because he doesn't want him to succeed and he wants him to fail as much as possible so that way he can convince Stephen Ross. I mean, at this point, I think that they are already off the ship. They have jumped ship on Tua and they're ready to move on to Watson regardless. But the more evidence that he can have, being that he's injury prone and he's not able to hold up through a season, or he doesn't perform well, or whatever he can use as a narrative to convince Ross, the most important person, in that getting Deshaun Watson is the right play for this team. I think that's what's going on behind the scenes. And there's a ton of data and information to prove that. Even outside of the bombs that get alluded to here and on Reason's channel that we can't talk about yet, regarding some of the things that Flores has done to Tua behind the scenes, but it's no secret that their relationship is not very good. It's not a secret that he lied about going to lunch with Tua. It's not a secret that Tua's dad doesn't like him, that Flores never wanted him to begin with. He's definitely the one that's been pounding the table for Watson. The way that he inserted him when he, last year when he should have just redshirted the whole year, to then, yanking him out of the lineup, just all these different things, right? The Deshaun Watson thing, hovering over him this whole time, giving him a shit offensive line, glass receivers and no running game, all of these different ways to set him up for failure. I do believe that shit is real. Anyway, let's see. Since suffering an injury on his middle finger on Halloween versus the Buffalo Bills, Tua has been limited in practice, and apparently he was again today limited in practice. Counted out against the Texans in Week 9 during pregame warm-ups, and reduced to a backup role in Week 10 versus the Ravens. And look, I even said during the Texans, before we continue on, that from what I saw, a video of Tua throwing in warm-ups, and from comments from people who were at the game, because we were in Reasons, I was on the pregame panel for that little bit, but then in the chat, people who were apparently at the game were saying they saw him warming up, throwing. He apparently, warmed up with Brissett between every series, offensive series. So, I said right from Jump Street, I thought it was complete bullshit and he would have been able to go. They were just holding him out to, take away some more of his quote unquote audition games and push the narrative that he's, injury prone and he's weak and he can't, blah, 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 even though he wanted to play, right? Anyway, so let's continue on. Flores has claimed he's been trying to save Tua from himself by not pushing through the injury and giving the finger more time to heal. Real quick, I'm sorry, one more thing about that. Yet, Will Fuller, who, to keep it real, did have a more severe finger injury than Tua, but he's been out longer than even Russell Wilson, who had a worse injury than him. Now, apparently, Will Fuller did have to have surgery, but Russell Wilson's injury was worse, had to have surgery, and he's back playing now. So the point there is that there's different standards. Now, obviously, the injuries are different, but when you take all of that into context, he's just letting Will Fuller sit off there and collect fucking checks while, being injured and not ready to come back yet. Again, not saying that the injury isn't real, but it shouldn't have to take this long, especially when somebody who had a quarterback, no less, fucking had a worse injury, had surgery, and is already back. So clearly it can be done. And Tua, on the other hand, wanted to play because he knew that his injury wasn't anywhere near that bad, but he is being held out seemingly for no reason, but there is a reason. Anyway, Flores has also stated that this, trying to save him from himself narrative is bullshit. It's just a lie. Flores has also stated that the quarterback's finger injury limits Tua on using the full playbook, reduces him to shorter throws, and that Tua's injured finger is affecting his downfield accuracy. Again, and I called that bullshit too, because even before that, and even with Brissett in the game, they rarely push it down the field to begin with. So why would that even be a concern when your offensive coordinators and your play calling doesn't call for it? And two, when you know that the fucking offensive line can't protect long enough for downfield passes anyway. And then what's the point in putting him in the backup role if he's healthy enough to play at all under certain circumstances? Why is he not healthy to play from the start? It was just all fucking bullshit. Bullshit. He was just feeding bullshit. And that's what I told you guys then, and that's what I'm saying now. However, Dolphins Nation and the rest of the NFL saw that wasn't the case when Tua came off the bench last Thursday night and hit Waddle on a deep pass while also being accurate with shorter passes to other receivers. Absolutely. Now, Tua even said, look, it's, it hurts and shit like that, but he's able to play through it and still at a far better level than fucking Jabroni Brisket. Let's go ahead with his new moniker, Jabroni Brisket, as we like to say on Reasons channel. Quarterback coach Charlie Fry admits that every finger is important on a quarterback's throwing hand because it affects how he grips, how he throws, how he follows through. They didn't even tape the shit together, for fuck's sake. But Fry's comments on Tuesday also contradict Flores' statements in regards to Tua's performance in practice with the injury. When asked what he has seen over the last couple of weeks from Tua throwing with a fractured finger, here's what he had to say. Tua has the arm to make all the throws. He's done those things in practice and it shows up in the games. When asked about if Tua's finger affected his downfield throws, I think that when you get into the game, the adrenaline and those things take over and you are thinking more about the type of throw, the type of read you have to make rather than the finger, Fry replied. And I agree that's probably the case. Adrenaline is a powerful drug. So based on Fry's comments, it appears that the finger injury wasn't affecting Tua as much as his head coach led on. Of course it wasn't. He just had an excuse to fucking keep him out of the game and help to continue to push the net. Now look, again, and this is coming from somebody who initially in the draft said, at that particular point, even though I'm not a fan of taking quarterbacks in the first or second round, and I would take one every year in rounds 3 or later and focus on the trenches primarily in the first 2 rounds, if I was going to take a quarterback, I would take Justin Herbert, in part because I'm concerned about Tua's injury history, particularly because I do not expect this Dolphins regime to properly build an offensive line in front of him. Now, having said that, if you just built the fucking line in front of him, he wouldn't have the as near the concern wouldn't be as big because he would be protected and not taking so many fucking hits. And also, if you gave him a running game that defenses can have to focus on as opposed to him, that also would help keep him clean and not have to sustain injuries. But they didn't do that, and that's the bigger concern with his injury history than the fact that it exists, right? But even still, though, and there were reports back during the ribs that he could have come back, a week or 2 early, or at least against Tampa Bay or whatever, and there was no need to put him on injured reserve, right? But he wanted to play against the Texans. He wanted to start against the Ravens, right? Anyway, so on and so forth. Continuing on. So based on Fry's comments, it appears that the finger injury wasn't... I already said. I read that. Let's see. As far as being limited throws, Fry stated the only thing he has noticed is the pain and discomfort for Tua has been dealing with, but Fry mentioned nothing about how the finger has affected Tua's passing ability. Oh, my mouse sucks. Obviously what he says is what he's fighting through, the discomfort, the pain and those things, but that's what I see. He's fighting through the discomfort, but as far as the limitations, I think you need to ask him that. Perhaps Flores was trying to save Tua from himself. No, he was just fucking using the opportunity to help push his own narrative. Tua has been willing to play through the pain the past 2 games, but Flores obviously didn't think that was a good idea. Flores has a tendency to baby step his players back from injury so they don't suffer a setback. However, I mean, that's not always the case, but yes, he does do that often, to be fair, but in this case, I don't think it really much matters or applies. However, with all the storylines with how this regime has handled their quarterback situation since starting Tua, to benching him, to being inconsistent with their verbal commitment towards him, and the Deshaun Watson trade rumors that are quiet now since the deadline but still aren't over, this could just be another chapter in this regime's attempt to sabotage their young quarterback. And, look, I mean, I've been a little reluctant to say vehemently. I've been phrasing it more as that they've been setting him up for failure. But and the thing is it depends on the context, because I think look, I think originally Tua was, and this is how I'll wrap this up, but I think originally Tua was the pick for Stephen Ross. He's the guy that Tua wanted, you know, at number 5, because he originally wanted Joe Burrow, but he didn't expect that. Apparently, and I mean, look, there were reports that Tua was apparently plan C, because they tried to go get Deshaun Watson even back then. It fell through. Then Joe Burrow was actually plan B if they were to get the number 1 overall pick. And then Tua was plan C, being at number 5. But okay, whatever. So Tua was the plan. I mean, tank for Tua was the whole thing. Ross really likes Tua, and he wanted to pick him. Apparently it was Ross and Greer who wanted Tua, Flores and Marino who wanted Herbert. Okay, we got that. So, you know, I do think that the point is it depends a little bit on because on who you're talking about, the person that you're talking about, because there is nuance to this, as there always is. And again, Ross and Greer initially wanted Tua. It was Flores and Marino who wanted Herbert, but it's specifically been Flores who's been pounding the table and spearheading the Deshaun Watson trade, and has been out on Tua since Jump Street because he never wanted him. And that's why I have firmly believed, and I have said a few times, that the checklist for Tua is impossible, because it's given to him by a guy who doesn't want him and has already made up his mind. So absolutely, and that's why I think that Brian Flores had absolutely no problem going into the season with glass wide receivers, no running game, and an offensive line he knew was going to be shit, while also having a super young offensive line coach, you know, and the dual coordinator bullshit, etc. He was okay going into the season with all of those as potential giant red flags and issues for this team and for the quarterback, knowing that he's going to get the fucking brunt of it all. And yeah, bro, I can see him doing it on fucking purpose, because egotistical people that want to push their narratives, especially people in power, will do shady and deceitful shit to get that shit done. Abso-fucking-lutely. 100%. So yes, I do think that there is a lot to the narrative and to the argument that Brian Flores is trying to sabotage Tua, so that way he can drive the narrative to Stephen Ross, the guy who's the most important, that Deshaun Watson is the answer. And also thereby potentially even saving his job at least for another year. And hoping that that's also going to mask a lot of the other deep-rooted, deep-seated issues with this organization, his coaching staff, the front office, etc. Anyway, that's what I got to say, though. I did want to, you know, talk about that because some interesting articles, and then obviously the roster moves. So, yeah, with that, I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, I want to make sure to remind you to check out the Rave On Sports App, the new fan-driven sports app for all of your sports, whether it be MLB, basketball, football, college sports, whatever. And they are looking to enhance your game day experience with live play-by-play coverage, live chats with other fans, and content creators like myself. Check for the links in the description box. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at DillonTartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.